Hi, I'm Peter Woolley. In the last programme you saw me climbing a mountain and making some outdoor sketches. Well, today I'm going to take the first of those sketches and paint a waterfall. So I've drawn my painting out using a light, weak burnt umber, and I'm ready to start putting my first big wash on. Now this is going to be in the sky, and it's an important wash because it rather sets the whole mood of the piece. I also don't want it to be too ambitious or too complex because I don't want it to draw the attention away from what else is happening in the rest of the painting. Now, this is going to be a wet in wet wash. I'm going to begin by dampening the sky. I'm going to bring it just down to the top line of the hills there. The brush I'm using is the SAA Easy Flat. It's a 1-inch flat wash brush. You should always use as big a brush as possible for as long as possible. It stops you fiddling. All right, what you'll notice there is I brought that wash right down over the distant hillside because I want to keep that back. And I'm going to use some Prussian blue and French ultramarine for the sky. It's the Prussian blue first. I get a little bit of French ultramarine mixed as well, so it's ready. Okay, here goes. Let's bring that right down to the top line of the hill. Needs to be a little bit stronger, I think. So with watercolour, if we want to darken our colour, we just add more paint to it. That's the control we have. If I want to lighten it, I'll add more water to it. If I want to darken it, I'll add more paint to it. I've added a little bit more Prussian blue to my mix there. That's better. It's a bit stronger. Work that down. Right down into there. A little bit of the ultramarine. Hint of it over that side as well, and that'll do. A wet in wet wash like this is best just left to do its own thing, because it carries on working right up to the very last nanosecond. Well, I've established my sky and I'm ready to start painting in some of the greens of the grasses. Now the good news is, as far as watercolour is concerned, is that there isn't a rule book that says you have to do things in a particular order. The fact is I could do the rocks first, but I feel that I want to get the grasses established. So I'm going to use Prussian blue, take some of the Prussian blue there, and I'm going to add some cadmium yellow to it. Just get a nice light green. Just water it down because I want to keep it quite light. And the brush I'm using here is a size 20 round brush. Okay, a little bit more cadmium yellow in there. I'll just start painting in the grassy areas. Now, the thing I need to do here is to try and leave a few random highlights that can be turned into rocks later on. The operative word being random. One of the hardest things we have to do in watercolour is to induce the random element. A little bit more paint, I think, in there, a bit more of both colours. I'm going to be adding other colours to it very shortly to dumb them down a little bit. Okay, that's better. I'm happy with that. Maybe just a little bit too heavy. A little bit more water there. That's it. Okay, I'm going to alter the mix a little bit as I go along. It's a good idea to build a little bit of variation into your painting. We've got grasses down here. We've got the rocks. So when I get to the areas where there are rocks, I just have to remember to paint around them. I'm working quickly because I want to drop some French ultramarine in a few places just to suggest a few shadows and give it contours. Eke that out a little bit. A few long grasses in the foreground. few random highlights there for stones, rocks, boulders. The area up there where the waterfall is the area that I'm working around, trying to leave untouched as white paper just for the moment. All right, I'm going to just take a damp brush here, soften that off slightly. This is the smaller of the two round brushes that I use. It's the number 16 round wash brush, and I'm just mixing up a little bit of the French ultramarine here quickly so that I can just suggest a few contours, particularly on this side. There we go. That's dried over there, so I'm going to leave that be just for now. Suggest a few contours down here. Again, just a damp brush to soften this off. Draw it out a little bit. There we go. There's a little bit of an undulation in the ground there. I think it'd be a good idea to introduce a dark tone to that. Soften it off. I've switched to a slightly smaller brush there, by the way. This is the all-rounder. It's a size 10 round. Just working it in. What I'm tending to do is I'm darkening it nearer the bottom edge where it meets the water. And I need to do this because I've got to create a contrast. There we go. A little bit more. Keeping it loose. This is the area, there's a bit of a waterfall there. I need to keep that clean. There we go, a bit more of the shadow colour there. This is just French ultramarine that I'm working into it while it's still damp. Keeping it soft, keeping it loose a little bit more. Across there. Bit of definition between the foreground hill and the background hill. The other thing you may have noticed, there is a hill in the background there which I've completely ignored just at this, up until this moment in time. I will put that in. It'll be one of the last things that I put in fact. There we go. So I'm just going to leave that to dry now, and then I can move on to the rocks.